All right, so good evening, everybody. It's so wonderful to be back at the Mussar Monday. I think we're on Mesilat Yesharim. This is our 17th class in this series. And we are on page 69 in the Art Scroll edition of the Mesilat Yesharim, the teachings of the Ramchal. And he says that this is what King Solomon says. Hu ma shamar Shlomo HaMelech alav shalom. This spiritual level is what King Solomon, peace be upon him, spoke when he said in Proverbs, Ashrei Adam mefached tamid. Praiseworthy is the man who is always fearful. What are we fearful of? We're fearful of Hashem, but imagine this. Imagine if someone lives their entire life and never one time found the gift, the quality that God gave them. They could be on this earth for 80, 90, 100, 120 years and never found that God gave them the ability, the talent of being a great orator or a great writer or a great painter. Right? We have wine and paint next week, right? You had a great talent to make delicious foods, of course, in honor of Shabbos, right? And you had great talents and you didn't utilize it, right? So Ramchal tells us that this is the verse in Proverbs. Praiseworthy is the man who is always fearful. Fearful of what?
Not going up to his potential.
Exactly. Fearful of not living up to your potential. You had potential and you didn't utilize it. That's something to be very afraid of. That's something to be very worried about. Because God gives us a gift for us to use it. God gives us a gift for us to maximize our potential. And our sages of blessed memory explain that this verse is written concerning matters of Torah, meaning that it is praiseworthy to always be apprehensive that one has not attained or may not attain perfection in observing the mandates of the Torah, fulfilling a mitzvah properly. Right? If I have a great mitzvah, we have a great mitzvah of tzedakah. We know is a great mitzvah, right? Everybody knows the mitzvah of tzedakah is great. That doesn't make a difference what synagogue you're part of. Everyone will say, tzedakah, we'll always take, right? That's one thing that every synagogue will tell you, right? But to do tzedakah properly, to do tzedakah with modesty, to do tzedakah with honesty, right? That takes a whole new level, right? That's to make sure that the tzedakah is done properly. Yeah, you're doing the mitzvah. But there's doing the mitzvah and you get your name, the banner on the entrance of the building, right? Then there's the mitzvah. Again, you're all doing the mitzvah in all the cases. There's someone who says, you know what, I don't want my name anywhere, right? Now I will tell you though, I want to give a shout out to those who do have their names on buildings. There's a story that's told about a great man. His name was Mr. Tenenbaum. Mr. Tenenbaum made a fortune of money building the 401 road in Canada, I believe it's from Niagara Falls all the way to Montreal. It's an enormous road and became a very, very wealthy man. Joe and Faye Tenenbaum. And if you go in Jerusalem, you'll see dozens and dozens of buildings of yeshiva institutions, donated by Joe and Faye Tenenbaum. Unbelievable. So someone once asked him and said, you're not a religious person. Why are you giving all this money to these yeshivas? He says, you know what? I don't know what my children are going to be, but one day they'll come visit Israel. And they'll see my name on the building. At least they'll know this is what I valued. And maybe they'll be inspired by it. And maybe they'll go learn Torah. Right? That's a very pure and righteous intention. And there are many great institutions I know of that have that name on the building. And I know his children, I know his grandchildren. And they're very righteous Jews, all observant of Torah. It's an amazing foresight to think for his future generations, right? Not for his own pride, right? So it's again, do we know the purity of the thought? We have no idea. We have no idea. But it's not for us to calculate. It's for the person and their relationship with God. Hashem knows the intentions. Hashem knows the thoughts. Hashem knows exactly why we do certain things. We can give the excuse to all of our friends, oh, no, I'm doing it for my future generations, or I'm doing it to get my name all over the place, right? That's not our calculation. Every person has to have their own accountability. Ramchal expands upon the meritorious nature of such apprehension. He says, "V'hine sof zot hamadriga." Now the epitome of this level of spiritual achievement, hinikret yirat chet, is called fear of sin. Shehi min hameshubachot shebamadrigot, which is one of the most praiseworthy levels that a person can attain. V'hu sheyeh adam yaret tamid v'doeg. This refers to a state of mind in which a person is constantly fearful and worried. Peni metzeh biyado ezehu shemetz chet, lest there be found in him a taint of sin. So imagine, we're doing good deeds. There's one little sliver of sin. What's the sliver? I want to make the other guy jealous. I want to show him I'm bigger. I want to show him that I'm better. It's jealousy. It's whatever. The taint, the slight little taint of sin on the mitzvah. You're doing a good deed, but that one little Yetzer Hara tries to do that to us. Just one more, just like I can give a little shtach to someone. I can give someone a little, So just a little taint of sin, shiakveu min hashleimus, that will prevent him from reaching the perfection, asher hu chayav lishtadel ba'avuro, of which he must strive for. Ve'al zeh amru zochronah levracha, and this is what our sages of blessed memory said, al derech mashal, in a metaphorical way, right, to explain a scriptural verse that indicates that in the world to come, every righteous person will have a canopy of fire. See, it says as follows: Malamed shekol echad nichve mechupato shechavero. This teaches that every righteous one will be singed by his fellow's canopy. Everyone will be singed. Why? Ki ein ze mitam hakin'ah asher tipol rak b'chasrei hadat. Now, this singeing is not due to jealousy, which is the character failing found only among those who lack proper perception. Which I'll still talk about, he says. Rather, the envy, the burn, the pain that stems from his realization that he himself lacks a level of perfection that he could have attained. And imagine the pain, okay? I once heard this story from there's a great author and lecturer named Rabbi Pesach Krohn. And Rabbi Pesach Krohn, in one of his lectures about happiness, he says, never let an opportunity pass you by. And he says that one of the books that made him famous was the book on Bris Milah. I think we actually have it here. The book, he's a Moel, and he wrote a book which became like sort of like the manual, the authoritative guide for a Moel. It became a very famous book. And he said he was once someplace doing a bris, and he does a bris, probably multiple a day, brisim, and another mole came over to me and says, I was supposed to write that book. They offered it to him first, but he let that opportunity pass him by. So someone else did it and did an outstanding job. Imagine every time he sees that book, he feels like a little krechts, a little pain, like, I could have done that. Now imagine if you could be that great sage, you could be that great scholar, you could be that great donor, you could be that great person of kindness, you could be that great volunteer, you could be the person that changes the world, you could be the I'm always inspired by the Susan S. Komen Foundation. What one person did, it's amazing. It really is amazing. One person. Whether you think it's all ethical or not, or moral or not, it's irrelevant. The fact is that today you'll see the most macho of men in football wearing pink gloves for breast cancer awareness because of Susan S. Komen. Susan G. Komen, whatever it is, yeah? Right? It's unbelievable. You'll see basketball players and baseball players using pink bats to bring awareness. So what one person did, it's unbelievable. And maybe we were supposed to do something like that. Maybe that capability is built in within each of us. And we just say, you know what, someone else will do it. There's an opportunity, you have an opportunity in your synagogue to help out, to volunteer, to organize, to coordinate, to this. I don't need to. They have Meals on Wheels, right? Let someone else do it. And maybe you could have been that person to make it great, and you gave up on it. Ashrei Adam Mefachet Hamid. The Ramchal says, every person should have a fear. Maybe I'm not utilizing my potential. Maybe God gave me a special gift and I'm not utilizing it. That's something to be fearful of. That's something for a person to be like, 1 second, if God gave me the ability to write and I don't use that power of writing, right? Right? It's okay. If you have a voice to sing with, so get into the choir. Start singing. You never know. You may end up being the cantor. Never know, right? So says the Ramchal further here. Everyone gets singed by their friend's canopy. He says, you know what it really means? From their own jealousy, right? He says, it's not due to the jealousy of their friend, but rather they find it's only found among those who lack proper perception of their own abilities, right? Rather, this envy stems from the realization that he himself lacks a level of perfection that he could have achieved. You could have achieved this, so you're jealous of what you could have been, and that burns. By the way, just so we get this out of the way, okay? Judaism believes in heaven, right? I had a lady in one of my classes. This is probably 10 years ago. Some of you might remember this. But I was one of the congregations, and we were talking about heaven, and we talk about hell, and all this. And I started giving the definitions, and the woman stops. She's like, Rabbi, just a second. Did you just say that Judaism believes in heaven? I said, of course. Where do you think this whole concept comes from? It comes from us. Right? What do you think? It's like, So she says, this is a total scam. She said, the rabbi promised me there's no heaven. That's what her rabbi, whoever the rabbi was who converted her, right? Promised her that there's no heaven. Now, of course there's a heaven. Of course there's a heaven. But hell is very different in Judaism than what it is in other religions. See, in other religions, it's a means to scare the hell out of you. Right? That's where that term comes from, right? They scare. Right? So now you're terrified of that punishment. So now, tell me what to do, I'll do it, right? Because I don't want that. I'll take anything, just not that. In Judaism, that's not what we believe. We believe that our soul, Elokai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi, the soul that you placed within me is pure. It's holy. It's special. But what happens if, children get ready for the wedding, their uncle's wedding, and the parents are in the middle of getting dressed, the kids meal run outside, it's raining outside, they run outside, and they get the beautiful tuxedo all dirty. So what are the parents going to do? What do you mean, what are we going to do? We're going to spray them down, clean them up, right? I think it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. It's not going to be fun. I can guarantee you that it's not going to be fun to clean off a beautiful tuxedo. Imagine that neshama in our lifetime. If we don't utilize it, it gets dirty. It gets dirty with all the different things, all the nonsense that we get busy with instead of being busy with our real purpose. So what happens? So God says, you want to come into the wedding, you got to clean up. So he pulls out the power washer and washes us down, right? We call it purgatory, which is a temporary state of cleansing so that our soul can be close to the Almighty. Right? Others have taken it out of proportion, so that if you don't accept their Lord and Savior, right? I always have people all the time, they see me with my tzitzis and my yarmulke, they say, we pray for you. I don't need your prayers. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Sei gesund, right? I don't need praying for you. But because you know where we're going, because we don't believe in their faith is. It's funny because Judaism is the only religion that doesn't have that stipulation.
Exclusionary clause.
Yeah, we don't believe you have to be Jewish. On the contrary, you come to convert. You know what we tell you? Go take a hike. A psychiatrist is cheaper, right? A psychiatrist is cheaper than buying kosher food, right? You don't have to keep kosher if you're not Jewish. You don't have to, you don't have to pay a membership dues to a synagogue. That can cost you an arm and a leg, right? You don't have any of this. Why do you need Judaism? Why? You can get heaven by just observing the 7 mitzvahs of Noah. Stay who you are. Stay a Gentile. So we don't look down on anyone. We don't look down on anyone. You don't have to be Jewish to have a great place in the world to come. Right? You want to be Jewish? Okay, so you're going to have 613 regulations that, you know. Actually, I saw a great comic piece. It's very funny. So this guy is saying, I'm sick and tired of this fence locking me up. It's sort of like a religious thing, right? Locking me up, limiting my you constantly have this fence around you. And then the next one, you see the guy's jumping over the fence to get his freedom. The guy says, no, it's not a fence, it's a barrier, right? Because there's a cliff down there. Right? The fence is not to lock us in, the fence is to protect us, right? So the idea here is like this, is that we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to our own selves. That's our first and most important responsibility. To be responsible for ourselves, to ourselves. God gave us special talents and abilities. What am I doing to maximize those potentials that I've been gifted with? So what's the envy? The envy is that the envy stems from the realization that he himself lacks the level of perfection that he could have achieved. Just as his friend achieved it. In conclusion, the conclusion of the discussion of this first group, this first category of people, on the basis of this avenue of contemplation, it is certain that someone who with a wholesome perspective will not refrain from being vigilant in all his actions. Since he perceives man's true goals clearly, he will find that there is no greater tragedy than not living up to one's fullest potential. The biggest tragedy one can experience in life, in their lifetime, is not living up to their potential. You could have been someone great and you were just mediocre. You were just average. Right? You know, they have this when you take your children to the doctor. They have this way of measuring. They say, what percentile are you?
Yeah.
You know, 50 percentile, you're 100 percentile, you're like way above average. I think sometimes they do that to encourage the Jewish mother. It's okay, your son is not going to be 7.5 feet. He may not play for the Houston Rockets, but he'll be a good guy, you know? Right? The thing is that we have to realize that everybody's gifted. Everyone is gifted. Every single human being. I'll tell you an amazing story. So, anyone here heard of the Barditchever? The Barditchever was a Hasidic master who lived in Poland. Today it's part of Ukraine. Berditchev. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak from Berditchev. And he was someone who saw the good in every single person. He saw the good in every person. So they had 9 people for a minyan. They had 9 people for a minyan. And they were looking for a 10th person. They're looking. Finally, they found someone who was willing to be the 10th person, and they schlep him into shul. And then one of the people stands up and says, "This person," and he says, "We need another person. We need an 11th person, someone who wanted to come to shul, right? Someone who wanted to come to shul." And the Berditchev said, "You're right." The 11th person came. They asked the Rebbe, "What was wrong with the 10th person?" He says, "That person who didn't see the positive in every person can't be counted for a minyan." Right? If you don't see the positive in every person, not the person who slept in, right? The person who who couldn't see the positive, right? You're right, maybe you shouldn't be counted in a minyan, right? You have to be able to see that also in ourselves. Believe in yourself. Hashem gave you special potential, it's an amazing thing that we have in the Talmud. The Talmud says that anyone who gives a nickname to his friend, right? It's a terrible thing. Very terrible thing. You're not going to call your friend a nickname. Hey shorty, right? You can't give a nickname. Right? Why? Because the name of a person defines the essence of who they are. The name defines the essence. And if you give them a new name, you're taking away that essence. You're taking away that potential. Right? It's an important thing. It means that every person, the name that they have is a name that has the power to bring out that potential. And I have a book in my house. I'll be happy if anyone is interested. Right? I have a book in my house that has most of the Hebrew names. And it tells you the power that's in that name. Every single person with the name, what's your Hebrew name? Kalman. Every single person with the name Kalman has a similar personality. Right? It has similar powers and abilities. Because it's in the name. The letters bring out certain holiness, certain spirituality, certain capability. Someone just told me an amazing story. There was a Hasidic master, a Hasidic Rabbi. My daughter is going to a summer camp, and she's going to be a counselor in Belarus for Jewish kids out in Belarus. Yeah, she's leaving tomorrow, and it's an amazing thing. So I remember when we were there, we have many kids first that never had the privilege of having a bris. And kids the age of 9, 10, 11, 15, 17, sometimes even the older counselors, 25, 35 years old, will have a bris at the camp. It was a mass mitzvah day, right? It was an incredible experience. Either way, one time the Rebbe of it's part of a Hasidic dynasty called Karlin, right? And the Karlin Rebbe came to visit from Jerusalem. He came to visit the camp. And all of the counselors who come from New York and from the United States, grew up in religious families. I would say very privileged homes in the sense that we have access to Torah study, versus kids who grew up in the former Soviet Union who don't have access and don't have that same privilege. Either way, so they went over to the Rebbe and they asked him for blessings for different names for different people. The Rebbe was this counselor gives a name for someone they knew who was at the age of getting married, and they needed to find the shidduch, they needed to find their proper mate. And they give the Rebbe the name, and the Rebbe says, "No, this person is taken care of. This person doesn't need the blessing." Wow, right? And this counselor calls up this relative of theirs. He said, "I gave your name to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said that you don't need the blessing, you're taken care of." He says, "Yeah, I'm about to get engaged today." True story. I heard it from the guy himself. I heard it from himself. Right? So how did they know? Well, they probably have an understanding of names, and names have certain powers. Live, it's a live thing. It's not a joke. It's like, oh, whatever. There's something about the names. I went to Rabbi Wolbe's class, and he said there's something about the Jewish names. Right? There is something real, something live about every single name. It's funny because when I was dating, I was dating for several years before I met my amazing wife, and but my next door neighbor was a rabbi. He was a little bit of Kabbalist. He was a hijibiji guy, he had his, he had some secrets. He had some secrets that nobody could understand. Either way, so I would go over to him and tell him, I'm dating this girl, and I would give him the name, and he would match the names, my name and the son of my father and my mother, and the girl's name, the daughter of her father and mother, and he'd match the names, and he would say, it's not going to work. Right? And the next one, it's not going to work. And each time he'd give me a different reason. He was right every single time. Every single time. It was amazing. Absolutely remarkable. And every time, not every time, but usually I'd start going out on a Sunday, and I'd go out again on Tuesday, and then on a Thursday, and then the following Shabbos, I'd be home again for Shabbos, and then I'd go out again the following week. That's the way the pattern of how things went. And I would go, and I would ask him on Shabbos, I'd give him the names, and he would tell me. The following week I'd come again, and he wouldn't remember the names. He would never remember the names. I'll tell him the names again, and he would tell me exactly the same thing. Right? It's not going to work. This and that is not going to work. She has this personality. It's not going to work. He would tell me every single time. In fact, he told me there was one name. He says, never ever date a girl like this with this name. Right? Don't even date her. Comes up with this name, don't even date her. Right? It was an amazing thing. It was like, he happens to be right. Okay? Either way. So, when I went out with my wife, I gave him the names, and he says, oh, this is it. This is it. Right? And then the following week, and I went out with her, that same pattern, and came back the next week, and he comes running over to me. He says, did you go out with her already? Did you go out with her? Because that's it. This is it. Right? It's an amazing thing. In the names, he was just able to, he remembered her name, he remembered her parents' name, the whole thing. He was like, this was right? I don't know how it works.
Well, something must happen to inspire the parents to give the name.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So that the Midrash already establishes is that every name is a prophecy. That every parent who gives their child a name, it's a prophecy that they get to have the name that encompasses the spiritual nature of the child. Yeah, it is. Yes.
What if the name is Yiddish?
It's fine. So
This
it's also a name.
Still works?
Yeah. Look, you have the name Dov Ber, right? Dov is a beer, and Ber is a beer. Dov Ber. Tzvi Hirsch. Hirsch is a deer, right? Deer. Tzvi is a deer. Hirsch is a deer, right? You have many names like that. Yeah. You have many names that were Yiddish. Yitzchak Isaac, right? My son is a Yitzchak Isaac. Isaac is Yitzchak, right? But it's in the Yiddish form. Right, that's the way they did it. Why they did it, I have no idea why they did it. But it's Aryeh Leib. The same thing. Many people who have the name Aryeh have the name Leib. Leib is lion. Aryeh is lion too, right?
Yeah.
Why they gave it, I don't know. And then people who just have the name Leib. Go figure.
Won't a rabbi like that put matchmakers out of business?
Yeah, but you know what?
He helps them.
He doesn't do
You know what? I'll tell you like this. The thing is, it's a real thing. You know, it really is. Yeah. I'll tell you even more. You have to either believe it or not. You have to either believe it or not, because if you don't buy into it, then it won't have any influence on you. It's like most things. Like the Talmud says regarding certain things, certain spiritual powers, is that if you don't believe in them, they won't have an influence on you. If you do believe, they could have. They can have positive influence on you as well. You know, but you have to buy into it. Rabbi Yacobian has this special event every Lag BaOmer where he sells candles in memory of a certain deceased righteous people. You know, he'll have of Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and each one had certain powers. And so I actually have his list here someplace of all of the special virtues. And by lighting the candle, you're sort of inspiring yourself with those virtues in their memory. Sort of you're taking some of their virtues. He really believes in it. So it really has an influence. And people who don't, it doesn't have anything. So it's so you lit a candle. It's like you go to Walmart and buy a different candle. So it's not a big deal, right? But if you really believe in it, it has an influence. Yes?
Thank you. So let's say someone has a similar name, like I have a grandson who's named Yosef and his mother's Yosefa. My name is Deborah. My mother's name was Deborah too. How does that work? If the spelling is different, is it supposed to be?
So I'll tell you, you have Sephardic, because the Sephardic name after living people, they give the similar names as the father or the grandfather. It's common. Ashkenaz, it's less common, but there are those who do it as well.
So if the
We still love you. We love having you here, Deborah.
Okay. Well, I feel not quite. But I mean, if the spelling is different, they do that intentionally, or is that...
They sometimes do. It's also an issue of sometimes when you have a son-in-law and a father-in-law, or a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law have a similar name. There's enough challenge between mother-in-laws and their daughter-in-laws, right? Like they need more problems, right? So I don't know. It's hard to understand all of these things, but there's the one thing we should not ever lose sight of is that we're here for a purpose. We're here for a purpose, and don't let people tie you down, and don't let people limit you. Even if they don't believe in you, who cares? So they don't believe in you. So you're gonna cry the rest of your life that my parents didn't give me the right. My father could have encouraged me. Okay, and he didn't. It's part of your challenge. You could do it. You could do it yourself, right? So I think I have amazing parents, but they didn't always encourage me to the things that I went on to do myself. Right? I don't know if it was calculated or not. I went on to do it. Turned out that it was a great thing in my life. My parents didn't have what to do with it. So you can sit and kvetch all day, or you can just get the job done. Do what you need to do. You're given certain talents. Go ahead and do it.
Rabbi, back with the name thing. So as a convert, when the rabbi gives you your name,
the rabbi
which is what happened to me.
You didn't choose your name?
No, my Hebrew name. He gave it to me.
So maybe he had some prophetic. Maybe he had some prophetic.
I don't know.
Maybe he had some prophetic vision. You know,
he was an older gentleman, but he gave me my name.
Miriam.
Sarah Miriam. It's Sarah. Sarah Miriam.
So let's go back to her question.
Back to the names?
Well, you say you shouldn't give anybody a nickname, right?
A nickname, right.
You could change the essence of that person, right?
Right, it means you're changing it.
Wait a minute. Don't rabbis have nicknames?
Like in the Talmud you're talking about?
What, Maimonides, Rambam?
No, that was an acronym for his name.
But still,
Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon. It was Rambam, right?
has nothing to do with...
No, it didn't take away. Many times what they did is that they adopted the names
of
the books that they wrote.
Some were named
Of the books,
like
the Chavetz Chaim, exactly. Chavetz Chaim wasn't the Chavetz Chaim, but he wrote a book called Chavetz Chaim, so that's where he got his name. You have the Chazon Ish,
That doesn't change
right? The Chazon Ish, we got the name the Chazon Ish because that's the book he wrote, right? You have many
How about the
sages,
cities that they live, sometimes they become...
right? Right, you have Rashi. Rashi is Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki. Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki. Take the first letters is Resh Shin Yud. You have Rashi.
The Vilna Gaon.
The Vilna Gaon. He's the Gaon. Right. So he was the Gaon. He was known as the Gaon of Vilna. But everyone had their name. They still had a name. And when they signed, the Chavetz Chaim never signed his name as the Chavetz Chaim. Right. He signed his name as Rabbi Yisrael Meir HaKohen Kagan.
So
right.
People didn't call him the Chavetz Chaim to his face, right?
Oh, people did all the time. Yeah, of course they did. Yeah.
Did he answer to that?
Yeah. Well, again.
I mean,
again.
it's not his name.
Oh, he answered to another name.
Well, because it's
He answered to Rambam.
All right. The second. All right. Let's continue.
We're live here.
The second level of contemplation is like this. But for those who are of lesser level than these of the first group, their inspiration must be achieved according to their level of discernment. Meaning that it must be based upon the concept of the honor that they crave. This motivation is as follows. It is obvious to any sensible person that the levels of accomplishment and reward are not distinguished from each other in the world of truth, which is the world to come, except in accordance with one's deeds in this world. What are the different levels in the world to come? Which family you're from? How much money you had? No. What is the levels? Accomplishment.
Spiritual.
Right? Spiritual accomplishment is the levels, right? In this world, by the way, that's not what this world looks at.
No.
Oh, what type of car do you drive?
That's right. That's right.
Right? That's what we respect. We respect how you dress, what type of vacation. It's like someone was just telling me that people like to give themselves their own compliments by saying their own story. Oh, so I was on a cruise recently, and I said they start saying,
Right.
it's like they have to mention all of the, I was once in first class, and this guy next to me was like, you didn't need to say that. It's like you're just trying to push in your own. Right? It says in this world, people. When I was at the Bentley dealership, my car was getting, it was a little.
It was idling rough.
Yeah. So.
300,000 liter.
Exactly. So, some people think that that's the value, but the true value is on our accomplishments. Except in accordance with one's deeds in this world. And the only one who has more good deeds, and that only one who has more good deeds to his credit than does his fellow, will be higher in status there. Okay? Someone learns more Torah, someone does more good deeds, someone does more good actions, more connection with. Now, you have to be careful about this. You have to be very, very careful with understanding this. Because some people will understand it to be, well, I didn't grow up in a religious home, so does that mean that I have 3 strikes against me? 2 strikes against me? No, it's the contrary. Right? You see that there are people, Rabbi in the Talmud was crying because there was a man who lived a very promiscuous life, his whole life. Till the last day of his life, he finally was inspired and did teshuvah. One time. Imagine, this man never put on tefillin in his life. He never wore a pair of tzitzis. He never kept a Shabbos. He never gave charity. He never did anything. All he did was self-indulging in physical pleasures. And the last moment before he died, he had inspiration, and a heavenly voice came out and called him Rabbi Eliezer ben Dudio. Rabbi, you're welcome to the world to come. And Rabbi cried when he heard that. He said, here I'm trying my whole life to be a righteous Jew. I'm trying to get higher, to become more holy, to become more spiritual, to become elevated. And what's with me? You know what you say in Yiddish? Garnished. Right? Nothing came of me. And look at him, he became Rabbi Eliezer ben Dudio. The heavenly voice called out and said, he's welcome to the world to come. Like that.
Why?
Because from where he was coming from, he had a glimpse of clarity that shot him all the way to the top. That glimpse of clarity, that moment of clarity.
It's true teshuvah.
Exactly, that's true teshuvah. It cuts away everything. It's real remorse, whatever it was that. I tried to give this analogy, okay? God doesn't care where you're coming from, right? He cares where you're going to, right? Every one of us comes from a different background. Every one of us has came from a different household, different set of parents, different set of siblings, different friends, different neighbors, different experiences, different talents, different abilities. Okay, but where are you going to? What are you doing with that? You've given the set of cards. Now, how are you going to play your hand? And I know nothing about cards, but I understand that that's a concept, right? These are the cards you're given. How are you going to play it? Right? You can say, well, if I would have gotten his cards, it's not fair. This is the cards. You can't do that, right? You don't go and play cards and say constantly, it's not fair, it's not fair. I should have gotten his cards.
You gotta deal with what you've been dealt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the hand you've been dealt. Make the best of it.
You fold.
That's what the Ramchal is telling us not to do. Don't fold. Right? That's why it's not a good analogy. Right? I don't know what fold means, but I assume it doesn't mean fight.
Toss him in, give
To
up.
reach, toss him in.
And you know you're not gonna win.
You're not going to win.
You got 2-3.
Well, here's the thing: is that every person has the ability to win in Hashem's world. Every person does. Even the person who says, you know what, I'm a nothing, I'm a nobody, I can't do anything, no one ever believed in me. So, Hashem believes in you. He decided that you're worth $1 billion, which is why He gave you life. Do you know, I was at a conference in February, and there was a weekend, a Shabbos weekend, and just before Shabbos I saw this individual come in with a wheelchair. And right behind his wheelchair, there was an entire cart of oxygen tanks that they brought in, so that he'll need, because every hour or so he needs to replace that oxygen tank. I didn't see anybody here in this room coming in with oxygen tanks, with pipes, with things in there, right? Wires and breathing tubes. We got a free built-in. You imagine how much it would cost for us, our whole lifetime, to carry around oxygen tanks, constantly replace them and refill them, constantly replace them and refill them. Right? Imagine. It's free. You got it built in. You got a built-in system. You have an unbelievable body. God invested in every single one of us because He believes in us. He thinks we're capable. He thinks that we're worth His world. So He invested in us. He believes in us. Okay, so your friend doesn't believe in you, so what? Your parents don't believe in you, so what? You believe in you, because God believes in you. It's such an important thing for us to take it in. So, and conversely, he says, "V'asher hu me'at ha'ma'asim hu yashafel." The one who has fewer good deeds to his credit will be the lowly one in the world to come. Im kain efo ech yuchal ha'adam la'alim einav v'ma'asim. How can a person avert his eyes from careful scrutiny of his deeds? A person needs to constantly evaluate, or even to reduce his efforts in this regard of, again, having proper caution for his actions. If afterward, when he leaves this world and the time for divine reckoning arrives, he will certainly be distressed as a result of this inattention. At a time when he can no longer repair what he has corrupted. So imagine that. I met an individual. They say, just there's that known saying that people say that no one ever said on their deathbed, "I wish I spent more time at the office." Right?
Yeah.
But what do people say? I wish I spent more time with my family, more time with my children, more time with my friends, more time, right, doing good things. I had an individual, I met him 10 years ago, he was in his 60s, and he told me, he says, "You know something, Rabbi? If I would have met you 40 years ago, life would be different." What a sad statement. So are you coming to tell me here that 40 years have been waste? 40 years have gone out the door. 40 years you're living with regret. And I told the person, I said, I don't think that's true. I think you are where you are today. Do the best you can do with what you have. Don't fold. Don't say, you know what? This is the hand I was dealt, I'm out. Leave me out. You know what? This is the hand you were dealt. Make the best of it. Build it as well as you can. Do everything you can to maximize your potential. Yes.
If you've been given an enormous amount of gifts
Mm-hmm.
from God, and you utilize 80% of it, and someone else has been given a much less amount of gifts, but utilizes all of them, is that person
Yes.
is a higher elevation?
Yes. It's not by what you were given, it's by how well you've used it. Because I'll tell you, okay, let's say someone is given 300 ounces of talent. Another one is given 10 ounces of talent. The one who's given 10 ounces uses all 100% of it. The person who uses who has the 300 ounces of talent uses only 10 ounces. So they're the same, right? They both use 10 ounces. No. One is maximizing his potential, and one is not even close to maximizing his potential. But he says, you know what, I'm the, what did they say the doctor call it? What did the doctors call it? Percentile. Right? I'm the average percentile, right? Everyone's using 10%. They're using, I had a guy came to me last week, I was very impressed by this. I'm not going to talk about what career he has, but he has a fine career. He earns a good, nice living. He said to me, Rabbi, I can do this in my sleep. I'm not challenged. He says, I'm making money, but I'm not challenged. I'm not doing anything with my life. He said, I could do what I'm doing in my sleep. It's not a challenge in my life. I need to challenge myself to do more. God gifted me, and he's right to understand this. God gifted him with a great mind. You know, for a typical person in his same career, I'm selling just as much as everybody else. I'm doing well, right? He's doing well for himself. But he feels that he's not fulfilling himself. Why? Because to be average, for him, is to be a loser. Because he was given 300 ounces of talent, and he's only using 10 of it. All right, so he's up to par with everybody else. But he has another 290 ounces that he's not using. And he feels like he needs to do something more.
And how does he go about finding that? That's the issue.
So we were identifying it. That's why we were talking to identify what those abilities are, and how he can do it, not at the expense of his family, not at the expense of his current things that he's going. And he's already identified a couple of areas, and that's what we were talking about. But the idea is to always be in a mindset of growth. How am I growing? How am I taking myself to the next level of what I can be? Not what everybody else thinks I can be. Not what everyone else has set a certain standard, right? You know, it's an amazing thing. The Talmud, the Mishnah says that kinat sofrim tarbe chokhmah. We know that jealousy is a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. Jealousy is a terrible thing. Except there's a jealousy which is a very good one. The jealousy of scholars. The jealousy of Torah study. The jealousy of organizations. An organization that's going to do good things is in a competition with another organization. You know what happens? They both become better. You have two institutions, one across from the other. You know that I'm not. There's laws of antitrust laws, right? You have competition laws, right? I can't open up, a Randall's right in the same parking lot as a Kroger. You know, it's like certain things you can't. It could be there's a certain distance you have to have between the stores. By the way, it's halacha. Halacha talks about this. You can't do something which is called hasagat gevul. You can't take away someone else's clientele. You can't open up a supermarket right next to the other supermarket. It's not. Open it down the block. You know, that's fine. But there's certain understandings without getting too much into the technical details. But for yeshiva, for Torah study, open up in the same building. You can open up right next synagogue. Open up right next door. There's no such thing as you take away clientele. You know why? You have a better synagogue? Oh, I'm going to show you. I'll make my synagogue better. Right? Oh, you're going to outdo me? I'm going to get. All right. I'm going to outdo you. And what happens? Who benefits at the end?
Well,
Both of them. The people do.
Yeah.
right? At the end of the day, who benefits? The people grow. So the idea here is that jealousy is a terrible, terrible trait, except when you channel it properly. Jealousy for growth, for spirituality, that's a good thing. It's an important thing to think about, right? If we're here in this world to accomplish a good, righteous purpose, right? We have to think, how am I maximizing myself? What challenge? I will tell you that, you know, I was, for many years, I was also in the former Soviet Union. I did outreach when I was 17, 18, 19, 20. I went there about 10 times. I was in Ukraine a lot, and in Russia, Moscow. I was also in Belarus, in Minsk. And I spent many years there. And I had an opportunity to go do outreach in Memphis, Tennessee. And it's like, welcome to America. Right? It's like, till now I've been dealing with Russian Jews, and suddenly I come to the United States. And I felt inadequate because from the age of 15 I was living in Israel, and I was either in Israel or in the former Soviet Union. I was not in America, right? I was not in the United States, and I felt like my English was lacking. I felt like my ability to communicate with the American culture, even though I grew up till I was 15 in the United States, was very limited. So when we ended the summer, it was a great summer. We had great relationships we built in the community. It was really, really a fantastic summer. I was single at the time. I went with a bunch of friends, and we ran programs for the children, for the adults, and it was really, really a fantastic experience. So when we were done, I felt like there was an opportunity. That they said that, you know, maybe we should do something every week. We should send an email, everyone should write an update about how their week went. I said, you know what? I volunteered to write a weekly Dvar Torah to send out to the whole community, and everyone gave me their email address. And I remember I was still using Yahoo then. Anyone remember what Yahoo is? Right? So, right, it was in the late 90s, and I was using Yahoo, and got everyone's email addresses, and I sent out a weekly Dvar Torah every single week. And I felt that obligating myself forced me to do it. I could have said, you know what, I'll try to do it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. But when you make that pledge, I'm doing it, I have no way out. And one of the things our sages tell us is we have to learn to lock ourselves in. Get in. No way out. Okay, I no way out. Okay, so I have to. You know, they say that the similar idea in marriage, success in marriage, is you take away the exit signs. You see up there, you have an exit sign, right? In marriage, there's no more exit sign. No exit sign. Okay, so I got to figure out how to maintain life here, right? If you're stuck in a cave with someone who you can't get rid of them, right? Might as well figure out how to have peace and harmony, right? You agree? You lock yourself in, right? And then you have no choice. You have no choice. Ramchal notes a possible realization that may be offered by some members of the group. Okay, how much time do we have? Okay, we'll do a little bit more. He says like this. Now, there are some foolish people who only want to lighten the burden of divine service from upon themselves. I just want the easy way out. Tell me what to do, the minimum I need to do, minimum requirements. Shiyomru lama neyega atzmenu b'chol kach chasidut u'prishut. The people will say, why should we weary ourselves with so much piety and abstinence, limiting ourselves of things that we consider to be so delightful out there, and really it's not necessarily. Isn't it sufficient for us just not to be numbered among the wicked who are judged for Gehenna? And we will not push ourselves to enter the innermost sections of the Garden of Eden. Im lo yeh lanu chelek gadol, yeh lanu chelek katan. And if we don't have a large portion, we'll have a small portion. Anu dai lanu bezeh. It's sufficient for us. V'lo nachpid al ol masa'enu ba'avur zeh. And we won't make our burden heavier in this world because of this pursuit of the highest level of reward in the world to come. Right? We don't need to be the righteous. We're standing up there with Moses. I'm okay just being part of the good people. I'm the what? Yeah, exactly. Right? Just now. I won't be burning in the fire on a coal. I'm good. Right? It's like. What do I need to be among the best, among the most righteous? It's like I once had an Israeli cab driver. He says to me, "What do I need to do Torah? I need to do mitzvahs. I do good things. I have a good heart. I don't kill anybody. Just leave me alone, right? Do what? Right? I'm a stand-up citizen. I pay my taxes. Leave me alone. What do you need? I need to be righteous. I need to be righteous. I just need not to be evil, right?" So the fallacy of this argument, says the Ramchal, Omnam sheila achat nishal mehem. So we'll ask one question about this defense of their behavior. Hayuchlu kol kach al nikala lizbol b'olam hazeh cholef. Would they be easily accepting, even in this transient world, lirot echad mechavreihem mechubad u'menusa yoter mehem? Would they be able to handle their friend or their colleague be more respected and esteemed than they are? Umoshel aleim, and they dominate them. V'chol shekain echad me'avdehem, and even more so if the person who attains this superior status is one of their servants. Right? Your assistant is higher than you, right? What do you mean? And people get worked up. I'll just share with you. People get so worked up about inheritance. I've had people sitting in this room fighting about a $10,000 difference when they're getting $1 million each. Yeah, it's a small. So no, we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight, right? And we're gonna go to court, and we're gonna. What? Are you crazy? Right? They got a little bit more. So what? No, justice, right? Oh, so when it comes to money, they'll get a little bit more. We're ready to fight to the last drop. But heaven, I just want to get something. Just want to get something of heaven, right? No, that doesn't work. Your servant is at a higher status than you. You'd be very embarrassed. You'd be ashamed. Or one of the poor people who are disdained and lowly in their eyes. Would they be able to tolerate having these inferior people command greater respect and admiration than they? How many people do we know who their name wasn't published by mistake on the shul dinner journal for the volunteering that they did? They're like, you know what? Don't ever ask me to volunteer again. Okay? Don't ask me to volunteer again. My name is not on there. It wasn't important enough for you, right? And people get right.
It's so true.
Right? If people get so worked up, why isn't my donation listed on there? Right? One second, I thought you were just giving it for the sake of heaven. I thought you was like, no, but people get worked up. Them you counted, mine you didn't count, right? But when it comes to the world to come, then I don't care if my name is there or not, right? Right? If in this world we care so much, of course we're going to care more in the world to come, which is the real world, right? Without being pained and without their blood boiling inside them. Can you imagine? You put the guy who gave the $18, them you put prominently on the screen. But me, my $18,000 gift, you forgot to mention it, right? Right? Lo vadai, certainly not. Ki hine einenu haraot, we know this to be true, for indeed we can see with our own eyes kol amal ha'adam lihinaseh al kol mi sheyuchal, that all the toil that a person expends in this world is to achieve superiority over whoever we can. V'lasim mikomo ben aramim yoter, and to establish our place among the highest echelon of society. We want to be accepted to the exclusive group. Anybody here member of the Houstonian Club? Anyone study Houstonian? Okay, so there's this place called the Houstonian, right? And it's for people to feel proud that they're not part of the the other health club, right? I don't even know if it's so much that they enjoy their own, but it's like exclusive. It's like for the what they say in Yiddish, the besser mention, the better people. It's for us. We're the right. It's like, you know what they say. There are two people. There's two reasons why people wear fur coats. Okay? There's two reasons. Number one, because it looks nice, and number two, because it makes you cold. Okay? Right? For me to be warm, no. But to make you cold, yeah. Right? That's very good. Kihi kinat hadam mire'ehu. He says, and this is in Ecclesiastes. For this is man's rivalry with his fellow. V'im yireh chaveiro mitoremem v'hu nishar shafel. And if one sees his fellow elevated while he remains lowly, vadai shemashi yizbol hu mashi yuchrach l'savlo. It is certain that whatever he bears is only what he is forced to bear. Ki lo yuchal limnoah. Because he is unable to prevent it from occurring. U'levavo yitashet bikirbo. But his heart smolders inside him with jealousy and bitterness. Right? Imagine that's just this world, the physical realm that we're dealing with. Right? Your friend has a nicer computer. You're like, what type of phone is that? Right? What? Right? I have to get the next one. And you should just know that Apple is brilliant at this. It's like, no, they really are. They make such a big presentation of the new iPhone 2. You have the iPhone 1, you're primitive. It's only the simple people. They if you want to be part of the society, it's Apple II right now, right? And then the Apple III comes out. It's Apple II. Right? Trade it in quickly because people are going to say things. You don't have the new one, you don't have the watch, and the new watch, and this watch, and it's like, right? They've created a culture where it's like almost like you have to be at the most current, because if you don't, then it's like But when it comes to the world to come, we say, oh, just give me a seat in the back. I'm fine. As long as I'm in the back, I'm not in the hellhole. I'm good, right? Right? Of course, that's not the truth. We know that that's not our nature. We want to be among the special. We want to be among the elevated and the uplifted and those who are recognized. And of course, we all desire to be among those who are elevated. Okay, so we're going to stop here. We're going to get to next week. Next week, I'm not going to be teaching the class. Someone will be teaching class. All the classes are going to be continuing throughout the summer. All the Monday night classes. So you have free time. Summer, everyone's off. It's lighter work schedule. So I look forward to seeing everyone. But next week, I'm not going to be here.
When will you be back?
I'll be back in 3 weeks. My brother's getting married in Jerusalem. Yeah, thank you, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. So I'm very excited. I'll be traveling to Jerusalem and coming right back. Most of the family, not all. But I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. Have a safe and enjoyable summer. Don't forget to drink a lot of water. Right? It gets hot. It gets hot here in Houston, and have an amazing summer. But I look forward to continuing. God willing, we have a lot of ground to cover still. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Say, Rabbi.